Hello to all of my artists and welcome back to art class. This week we are learning how to make 3D paper spirals and we're turning them into a sculpture. Our guiding question is, how can I fold flat 2D paper into a 3D sculpture? So that means we're going to be talking about turning flat paper into something that can actually stand up. Our learning target is I can create a 3D paper spiral sculpture. In this video, we are practicing first with paper, with computer paper, whatever we have on hand. In our next video, we will talk about how to make our final artwork using either colored construction paper or painted paper, paper that just has paint brushed onto it and that is dry. All right, so let's go ahead and get started by gathering our materials. What you need is a pencil or marker. These are actually going to be used for folding the paper or making it into a spiral. You definitely need scissors. I grabbed computer paper because I don't mind using that for practice. And then I also have some black construction paper. All right, so what I first want to do is cut my paper into strips. This is too wide, so I want to cut it into a strip that I can kind of fold into the spiral. So an easy way to do this, if you want it to be perfectly even without trying to just cut it by yourself, is to fold this paper in half hot dog. Hot dog is long ways. Remember, hamburger is this ways. Fold it in half hot dog, matching up the corners, and crease it in the middle. You should have a little crease. All right, I fold my paper when I want to know or have a line right down the middle to guide me when I'm cutting. So I'm going to cut right on that line. And now I have two strips. All right, so I'm going to set the one strip aside, and I want this flat paper to become something like this. This is a spiral that can stand up off the table, right? So how do I make it 3D? So we are using a technique that's actually called flange. I'm actually just going to write it, F-L-A-N-G. And flange is just a fancy word for all of these little folded and cut tabs that you see on the bottom of this spiral. That's all it is. All right, so how do we make those? So we have our strip. It's already ready. And what we want to do is just fold up the bottom edge of our paper about 1 inch. I don't want to fold it in half. I'm not folding my paper in half. I'm like folding a little tab right up. So I fold it up, pinch it, and just send it off to the side. Try not to make it too angled like that. You want it pretty even on the end. So from the side, it kind of looks like this, right? Not folding the paper in half, just a little tab. All right, now that I have my little tab, I have a line to stop my scissors at. I don't want to cut all the way up here halfway. I want to cut and end it at that folded line. So I'm going to take my scissors. I can use the end of my scissors and just cut like 1/2 inch little tabs that look like little teeth or something like that, and just cut them on the edge of this paper all the way down. You don't want to make them too skinny. That is too skinny. It's going to probably tear off, but you also don't want to make them too wide. That's too wide, and that won't let your spiral actually turn, or your paper turn into a spiral. You kind of want it like the size of maybe your thumb, like the width of your thumb. Not too narrow and not too wide. Okay, so my strip of paper has its fringe all the way across. It still kind of wants to lay flat, so what I have to do is take my pencil. You can also use a marker, but I'm going to use a pencil, and I am going to basically twirl or turn this paper, wrap this paper around the pencil. The pencil is round, so it will help me create this roll. So I'm going to put the pencil at the end and just guide my paper onto the pencil. and kind of tuck this paper underneath as I begin rolling. You can kind of flatten out your fringe a little bit so that it doesn't get in your way. And what I'm doing is I'm just rolling the paper around the pencil. And when I do this, I'm kind of like training the paper to now roll this way instead of being flat. We're training that paper to roll in a spiral. Okay? Once it looks like this, slide your pencil out and kind of just let it do its thing. Unfurl it. It's going to be nice and tight if you rolled it nice and tight. So I just take my hand, kind of roll it back out, and get it to a good diameter. Diameter is a circle from, or is the length of a circle from each side. All right, so you guys see it from the top view. But what I'm going to do now is just start to fold each of these little cuts, these little slits out. Right now they're laying flat. I want them to now fold out. Okay? All right, so I'm going to fold them out. And because I already folded a tab on my paper, this should be pretty easy for them to just go out. Okay. Now it should start kind of looking like almost like a flower from the other side or sunshine. And there we have it. All right, so this is kind of a circle right now, but we want to make a spiral. And a spiral is small in the center and gets larger as it goes out. So what I want to do is kind of guide my paper into the spiral so that it looks something like this. It's a little bit hard to hold it without it being glued and show you guys. But you can kind of see my paper is not making a cylinder. It's not making a circle or a cylinder like this. I want it to curl inside and make a spiral. All right, so one of the tricky parts is to glue it down. So I'm going to show you a simple way to do that. All right. I'm going to grab some scrap paper that I don't mind getting glue on, and I'm going to be gluing this spiral. This is still practice. I'm going to be gluing this spiral to the black paper. This is my scrap paper. I want to now unfurl or kind of flatten out my spiral now that I know how to fold it and make it in a spiral. And I want to grab some glue. Now you can use a glue stick if you're at home, but I'm going to be using glue cups. Glue cups are literally just Elmer's liquid glue poured into a little cup with a lid, and then I use a very cheap brush, a brush that I don't mind getting glue on. You wouldn't want to use a very nice brush. And this will be like painting, except I'm going to be painting on the glue. Now I want to go fast when I'm doing this, because if my glue dries, my whole sculpture won't stay. So I'm kind of holding it down. Now it wants to curl because we trained our paper. Holding it down, and I'm just going to slide some glue painted on only on the fringe. I'm painting the fringe. You could kind of sit here and paint it on each little fringe, but if you hold it down flat, it pretty much just slides right over all of them. And I'm being generous with my glue. That means I'm not skimping on the glue. I don't want too little. If I have too little, this project won't really work. All right, grab my black paper. Now I want to decide where I want it on the paper. This is especially important on your final. On your practice, it really doesn't matter too much. All right, so I want to first guide the center of my spiral. That's the small part. I want that glued down first so that everything can kind of now go around it. Make sure the tabs are all folded out. Guide the spiral around. It's okay if you kind of get glue everywhere. This is just practice. All right. Now that I have the spiral in a good direction, centered it out. What I'm going to do is just bring those little tabs, make sure they're flat, bring them out, and then I'm going to just press them down. Sometimes you kind of have to stick your finger through here and just kind of press down. All right, you can see them. Now I'm going to take my fingers, press them down all the way around, and because I applied enough glue, these tabs easily sit down on the paper. And that is our practice 3D spiral. So we just turned flat paper into something 3D only by folding a tab, cutting little slits, and gluing them, and folding them around or turning them around a pencil. So that's how you do it. So I will say, some of you might think at home, hey, why couldn't I just fold the paper, roll it around a pencil like this, and just glue a spiral like this. Now, this is a spiral, but all you have is this thin little teeny tiny edge. And if you try to add glue to this thin little edge, it just falls down and it's not enough space to glue. So when I glue it down and pick it up, look, it already fell. So that is why we create that flange, or these little tabs on the bottom of our spiral like that. All right, good luck. Make sure you make a practice before you use nice paper, and then you'll be ready for your final.